Walaikum
So how are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Fine?
Yes, yes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Viewers, once again, it's a very happy time we spent together. The only problem is it runs too fast, rather flies away. Huh?
I think happy time always runs very fast. Yes.
They always do that.
Yes, Hudur, we are still discussing the beliefs of the Muslims in general and how the promised Messiah rectified these beliefs.
Not the Islamic beliefs, but the misunderstood beliefs of Muslims.
Yes, misunderstood beliefs of the Muslims in the Quran and the Sunnah and everything. We mentioned the life of the promised of the Isa ibn Maryam and his descent from heaven, and the revelation after the Holy Prophet, and the abrogation of some verses of the Quran. Today we want to discuss what is your question?
ما حقيقة عذاب النار ونعيم الجنة?
The reality of heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell, or azab in general?
Everything concerning heaven and hell. Adab and Naim, and what is the reality of them. Yes, sir.
You know, normally people understand the Jahannam as a corporal place, like it's a noor, where fire is burning like a huge oven, where material fire is burning or raging to such intensity as it's not possible for man to imagine. And the sinful people will be thrust into that, thrown. And they will start burning together with coal, coke and wood, fire and this. And yet their skins will not burn. Whenever they become resistant to this fire, they will be changed anew, so that the torture continues. And they will drink there the washing of the wounds. And similar things. It's a very, very horrible picture, which one begins to understand if taken literally. If this is exactly the meaning of hell, then it doesn't present a very attractive figure of God, who on the other hand is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, the one who almost all the attributes are those of mercy and kindness. Only a few are exceptions. But then the Holy Quran itself makes it very clear that Allah is not Zallamul lil Abid. And again it makes itself very clear that whatever they do, it is of their own making and own doing. It is not God who likes to torture anybody. So this is a very important thing which should be understood before we begin to understand what hell is. Similarly, the counterpart of hell is heaven and paradise. That again is described in carnal terms, like the canals full of water will be flowing, the canals full of milk will be flowing there, the canals full of honey would be flowing there, and also wine. So these are the 4 drinks offered there. And as far as the birds are concerned, there are no birds mentioned in heaven, but the meat of birds is mentioned. If it is literal, one wonders what sort of birds would be catered for there, and they would fly about and will they bear children, and by laying eggs and so on. and where will they pass out their filth and so on and so forth. Everything of heaven seems to be, again, a carnal thing. Yet, according to the Holy Quran, the people will not be carnal. They will be of a different type. Because the Holy Quran says, وَنُنْشِئُكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. وَنُنْشِئُكُمْ पहले उसे हम निकालना है. We'll do this and nunshia is mansoob, nunshia. وَنُنْشِئُكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and we are going to raise you into something. ठीक है. نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت وما نحن بمسبوقين على أن نبدل أمثالكم وَنُنْشِئَكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. We it is who have organized everything according to very precise estimates, very clear design and really distinct things. قَدَّرْنَا. What have we organized? Well, al-maut. Maut is not something which you think suddenly it happens. It is a well-designed thing for life to take a different flight from this earth to another place. So, نَحْنُ قَدَّرْنَا بَيْنَكُمُ الْمَوْتَ. We have organized death among yourselves the way we thought, and this word قَدَّرْنَا is indicative of very deep planning. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِمَسْبُوقِينَ. As we have organized death, we have not organized it to bring you to an ultimate end, so that nobody can stop us, because we are the owner and the proprietor and the designer of death. So nobody can say that death will overcome our powers and will not be able to revive you. Or anyone else, because of death, will have the right to say how after death you can revive these things. So it says the one who designs the thing has full command over it. So death is also under our command. It will only kill you that much, which is essential for your ultimate end, and leave that much out of you, which is not meant to be killed. It's a very profound declaration of the Holy Quran, which is not found in other religions. Fascinating verse. And then at the end of this it says, وَمَا نَحْنُ بِمَسْبُوقِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُبَدِّلَ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. It doesn't say أَن نَخْلُقَ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. It says نُبَدِّلَ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. We are fully capable of changing your forms of life which you have here. You are not going to be reborn exactly in the same way. We are capable of completely transforming into something. وَنُنْشِئَكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and raise you up into something of which you have no idea whatsoever. So don't you have an idea what you are? I have a little, of course, and Hilmi Sahib and everybody else has. So what does God mean? These ulama of Islam should understand. They should read the Quran, not like you just recitation and shut the book again. They should read it by penetrating deeper into the word, because it's God's word. It's not a human writing. And here it clearly means that the way you will be reborn is something of which you cannot imagine. Your existence will be of other dimensions of which you have no knowledge whatsoever. That is why it is also said that as far as the Numai Jannah are concerned, no eye has ever seen such a thing, no ears have ever heard of it. Well, when they recite the Quran, don't people hear about the Jannah and what they will find there? Everything of that world is completely different from what we know here, And these are only examples and parables to convey certain meanings, no, nothing else. Now, it is not the meaning of like ordinary meaning of honey, or ordinary meaning of milk, or ordinary meaning of wine. They have nothing to do with Norma Jannah. And the Holy Quran also indicates that very clearly. It doesn't hide anything, but the expression of the Quran is so subtle and intelligent and beautiful that you need to concentrate to find the message. The Holy Quran says there will be milk, of course, but lam yatasanna, or la yatasanna, whatever the word is. Lam yatasanna, milk which doesn't go bad, which doesn't go sour. What sort of milk that is, which doesn't go sour? And wine which doesn't intoxicate you. So what is the difference between fruit juice and wine if it doesn't intoxicate? The only thing the wine has of attraction for people is intoxication. And there is wine, of course, but not intoxicating. Obviously, it means that there are terms only to indicate some pleasure attached to them, or some benefit attached to them. But there will not be things like you have, and that is why when they will be fed with certain things in the hereafter, they will be offered fruits and things, and people will say, we at something like it. They say, no. They may be similar, but not, of course, not the same. They're different things. So everything there about our person will be different. If we are differently built, how can we enjoy the food which we can only enjoy with this mouth like this, tongues like these, eyes like this, and ears like this, and noses like these? They are the instruments of five senses. And we only enjoy through these instruments. If these are not the instruments in the heaven, what is the purpose of all this material world? And it is not possible to have this anyway. Because if we eat like we eat here, then we'll have to pass it out again. And there has to be a system of garbage removal and all this and nonsense. Not at all. Jannat is not something like that. Similarly, if we are spiritual, and as we can prove from the Holy Quran, it will be the spiritual form or something. How can spirit burn in hell? The spirit can't be burnt because it has different dimensions. So that must be understood clearly. مثل الجنة التي وعد المتقون فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسن وأنهار من لبن لم يتغير طعمه. وأنهار من خمر لذة للشاربين وأنهار من عسل مصفى. Now there is another place where it says that the wine will not
لا غول فيها ولا verse says لا غول فيها.
There are signs everywhere that man will not be of the same shape, the same form. It will not be material. It will be something else, which in the form in which man will be raised, we here on earth do not know. That is one thing certain. And we know our forms. It has to be something else, which means dimensions are different. Like angels, they have different forms, we don't know them. And their food is different too. So, in the light of all this, Hazrat Masih Maud has done a wonderful service to Islam by enlightening us about the meaning of both these things. Hazrat Masih Maud told us that Jahannam is also prepared by man for himself, and Jannah is also prepared by man himself. And they can coexist and yet be separate. Like the Holy Quran says, Arduha samawatu wal ard. The Jannah's dimensions will be the entire universe. When the Holy Quran said this, somebody inquired from Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where will be Jahannam then? If the whole universe is covered by Jannah, where else would Jahannam be? Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them that it would be there, the same place. But you don't have the shuur to understand these things. Obviously, fire and cool shades can't go together. So this means God is talking of different types of fires and different types of cool shades, and the life forms there will be completely differently designed. And apparently they would share the same space, but the dimensions will be different. So Jahannam in the same place means it will not be of the same dimensions as Jannah would be. And they could coexist yet would not cross each other's path. The people of Jannah will be completely unaware of the Jahannam raging in the same apparent space. Now this can happen only if the substance we are talking about, it could be the same, but it is so rarefied that the rarefied form can go through the denser substance without even making the denser substance to realize that something is passing through me. Now, we have dense bodies, right? And the spirit we have is not dense. It occupies the body without our ever realizing where it is. You know, we know it only because it gives us command and consciousness. Otherwise, you don't know. But apart from that, that is a very different, very highly rarefied thing. But let's talk of waves. Waves are a form of energy. They are the property of matter. These television waves, radio waves, electric waves, light waves, magnetic waves, they're all forms of energy, they're parts of substances. Understand that? Yet here, in this space where we're sitting, there are hundreds of things going on in the world of waves. We have not the least idea about it. You see, this program which we're showing is also here. We don't hear any noise interfering with us. We don't hear any echoes. While the echoes are already filling the whole of the universe, the whole of the earth, globe of the earth, because this MTA television system is a global system. The waves which carry these pictures, sound, whatever we're doing, are carried across the whole of the globe. And we are talking, we don't know that this is here. But if you have the right sort of machine, a television, then a dish antenna, you will suddenly begin to see yourself as you talk and as you look, it will appear on the television. Then here, on the same space, the people are different programs from all over the world, hundreds of them, can be detected. There's singing going on, there's dancing, there's dirty talk, murders being staged, dramas being played, poetry being read, lectures being delivered. All of that is here, in the same space. Can you feel it? Can you put your hand and see something? Nothing. While this belongs, this wave system, this wave system or this energy form belongs to the same dimensions as we have, same 4 dimensions, right? Time, space, And what else?
Space is 3 dimensions and
What?
time. Space is 3 dimensions and time is the 4th.
That's right. Space like this, 2 planes,
Yes.
and third plane
It is
left like this.
Yes.
Space has 3 planes. This is a plane, all spread over. This is again a plane. And the third plane is from here to there, in like this, in this direction. And time is the 4th dimension. So the things we don't know and cannot know directly, which do not interfere with us, belong to the same 4 dimensions. But the scientists have worked out so far, mathematically, more than 14 dimensions, which are mathematically possible, but which you cannot conceive. So, if the dimensions change in the hereafter, and the hell belongs to other dimension and the heaven belongs to another dimension, they can never cross their path. Impossible. So these are the things the Holy Quran is talking about. 1400 years ago, the Holy Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam was definitely told by Allah that hell and heaven would remain within the same dimensions and will not cross, not within the same space, but will not cross each other's path. That means their dimensions are different. So if our dimensions are different, how can we conceive a carnal hell and a carnal heaven giving us torture or providing us pleasure? Because spirits can't enjoy water or honey or anything else. Then they should understand this. This is no heaven to be confined in a place with only running water and wine and milk and honey. Won't you be bored to death? What hellish heaven that would be, if it is carnal. It is not carnal. These 4 things convey messages. Honey has its own curative powers. It indicates health, sweetness and health, and the best of things. Honey is the nectar of whatever vegetative kingdom produces, whatever is produced through vegetation. Honey is the very best essence of that. So it is only that meaning that whatever God will have for you, the very best of that will be provided to you, and constantly, without ending. And milk is a complete diet. And water is the source of life. See? And wine indicates extra pleasure, over and above food. So these are 4 central messages to man, that in some form you will find these things, but that form is not known to you. We are just making an example. Mathalul Jannah. It's not the Jannah itself. And because you are afraid of fire, and you know it burns and hurts, so we are giving you some examples of fire, but the torture could be a different type of spiritual experience, which sometimes is so strong and so punishing that people who go through torture in this world, mental tortures I mean, they become mad, they commit suicide. To burn in that hell is no pleasure at all, I mean no easy experience. It can exceed other tortures or other forms of punishments. So punishment that would be, of course there is no doubt, and burning and something, but they could remain within the same plane and yet be different. Now I quote now example of how we create our heaven and how we create our hell, as told by Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad. Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad pointed out that it is the attributes of God and the love of God, which in fact would create heaven for the soul. God is the source of everything beautiful. God is the source of everything pleasant and pleasing and loving. But we can only acquire this taste with worship, with sincerity, with constant prayer to Allah, and with imitation of God's attributes. If we become Rahman here on earth, if we try to become Rabb here on earth, like mothers do to their children, if they do it to others as well, then they'll be like real Rabb. Then they can be like Rahman. And if you begin to do it entirely for the sake of Allah, not for your own personal aggrandizement or show, then you begin to draw a pleasure out of being kind to others. You don't draw pleasure by receiving anything. You feel very bad inside, if somebody shows favor to you. But when you show favor to others, then you have a divine pleasure out of that. And that is what sustains the prophets here on earth. Despite the enmities, hostilities from all others, their response is that of kindness and love and consideration for them. So all this, when they do, it generates pleasure, which is spiritual pleasure. So once we train our souls to receive pleasures of this nature, out of love of God, we begin to love humanity. Out of love of God, we try to imitate Him here on earth. Still, this pleasure is a bit remote pleasure because we are still at a very long, long distance from God. And these godly things have not acquired any form for us. But if with this we come closer to the beauty of God, what a heaven it would become. But for that we must be trained here on earth. If you do not love God and God comes closer to you, that will be a punishment. It will not be a heaven for you. This Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad has pointed out in a different form. He says, imagine a thirsty man who is dying of thirst and is also hungry and has lost his energy and is about to be dehydrated, and you offer him a beautiful bunch of sweet and fragrant grapes which are cooled. Now, these cool grapes, when you offer them to such a man, they would provide him like a heaven. They would feel like heaven. Because he would be dying of hunger, shortage of energy, and particularly when you're hungry, you like sweet things and cool things. His thirst will be quenched with the watery element in the grapes. His desire for sugar and energy will be fulfilled, will be met with by the sugar in the grapes, and then the coolness itself will quench the fire of your thirst and uneasiness. This will be a heaven for the person. But if somebody again is very dry, he has been always dehydrated by vomiting and diarrhea, and feels so nauseated that even the thought of food makes him vomit. Now he needs this as much as the other person. And you offer him a cool bunch of grapes and see, he will slap on your face. Remove it. Even the smell will hurt him. The sight of water and food and drinks would hurt him. He said, the thing is the same. The grapes are the same cooled and chilled fruit of the highest quality, but it has different effects. It creates heaven for one and hell for the other. So Hazrat Mirza Tahir said, it is your spiritual health which will create heaven for you when you come closer to God. His attributes will provide your rizq. And that is the spiritual rizq which will keep you alive and which will give you an everlasting pleasure. It will take different forms. Now, because tastes differ here on earth, because the capacity to enjoy differs, so you cannot say, if you eat the same food, you cannot say that we are enjoying same as much. Some people have a better taste, some have an inferior taste, some things please one and some things please another person, and their intensity is also different. So those who are more pious, their heaven, even if they are there among us, would be a very elevated experience. Those who are less pious, their heaven with the same atmosphere will be a different thing altogether. I've seen people sitting on the same table, eating food. Some are enjoying it, some are not enjoying it. So the intensity of the fire would also be different from sinner to sinner. It would be their aversion to goodness, their hatred of goodness, their addiction to evil, which they will find there as a punishing force, because whatever they want, they won't have it. You see, if somebody does not like to hear recitation of the Quran, he doesn't like the Quran, and he wants film songs and music and pop songs and things, and day and night he hears the Quran being recited from radio, what would happen to that poor man? And the one who is a godly person who loves the Quran, and he opens the television and there is filth. He opens the television and there is pop song, and people making mad, movements in the scene. Every time he'll shut up the television or he'll go mad with that. So it is not the things which differ. It is what you are and what you have trained yourself for, your acquired tastes. So Hazrat Mirza Tahir, with reference to many verses of the Quran and many traditions, proved the point that the hell will be spiritual, the heaven will be spiritual. Here on earth we make our own hell and own heaven. That is why the blame does not go to God. They themselves hurt themselves, they themselves are cruel to themselves. These are repeated assertions of the Quran. We have told them, look here, if you do bad things, you are going to create this. So once it is done, then you are in for your own punishment. You understand? Now, although I have taken very long, but your father is very capable, I am sure.